Welcome to Proclaiming Justice, a podcast from PJTN that focuses the light of truth on vital issues in today's headlines that impact every American. I'm your host, Laurie Cardoza Moore, founder and president of Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, and I'm here to educate, motivate, and activate you to action. I want to arm you with the truth and the facts you'll need to fight and preserve our constitutional republic and uphold the Judeo-Christian values our nation was founded upon. Welcome to Proclaiming Justice, a PJTN podcast where we shine the light of biblical truth on vital issues from today's headlines that impact every American, Jew and Christian, people of faith, and people of conscience. I'm your host, Laurie Cardoza Moore. If you missed the last episode of this podcast, you will find it and our previous podcast lineup on our website at pjtn.org, as well as all the other platforms that you use to access your favorite podcasts. On this week's podcast, I have invited Hannah Garces. Hannah serves as the Advocacy Associate for the Philos Project. She is based in New Jersey. Hannah holds a BA in History and Jewish Studies from Rutgers University, as well as a Master's in Islamic and Middle Eastern Studies from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. Since her first trip to Israel in college, a piece of her heart remains in the land. It's that passion that drives her in standing up for Israel and against anti-Semitism. Prior to joining the team at Philos Project, Hannah worked in the Israel advocacy space with Stand With Us for 6 years. The Philos Project is a Christian nonprofit that seeks to promote positive Christian engagement in the Near East by creating leaders, building community, and taking action in the spirit of the Hebraic tradition. I also want to remind you that it's important for you to listen and share this and all of our previous podcasts with your family and friends so that they can become more informed about this and other related issues that threaten our republic and the state of Israel. So please remember to like and share. Hannah, thank you so much for joining us on Proclaiming Justice. I was so impressed with your testimony, with your love for Israel, your advocacy, and it's very rare to find for a young woman as yourself. Tell our listeners about that passion that you have for Israel and combating anti-Semitism.
Thank you so much, Laurie, for having me on the podcast. It was such a pleasure meeting you in person. I'm so happy to share my story. So I began my journey in supporting the Jewish people and Israel from quite a young age, actually. When I was growing up, two of my dear friends were Jewish, so I was first introduced to the culture and the faith before I really got engaged in the Israel space. When my friends were about to have their bat mitzvahs, was my first time ever going to a synagogue, and I saw a service, and they were teaching me all about this important moment in their life that they were coming upon. And simultaneously, we were learning about the history of the Holocaust for the first time. I grew up in New Jersey, and in New Jersey, it is required that in middle school, you learn about the Holocaust, which I think is so important. Holocaust education is crucial. And so while we're learning about this, I'm seeing in real time what the continuity of the Jewish people is in the American Jewish community with the bat mitzvahs and the services, the celebrations, the rich tradition and culture. And what I found out later was one of my best friends, her grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. And I had known her before that. And she was one of the most vivacious, kind, loving people I had ever met. And so to find out what she had been through, I was shocked. I was appalled. I just didn't know what to think.
Yeah.
And so I went on my own self-discovery of how could a society like similar to the one that we live in, could something happen like this, and how it was only targeted to a people of faith, the Jewish people. And so I did what I could to learn and read on my own, and that began my journey. I took that and then went to college. I went to Rutgers University, and I enrolled in the Jewish Studies program. So being probably one of the only Christians in the program, I had the opportunity to engage with more Jewish community members, more friends. I
Mm-hmm.
gained more knowledge. And, I want to back it up for a second. At the church I grew up in, we always supported Israel and the Jewish people. From
Mm-hmm.
a biblical standpoint, we were always praying for the peace of Jerusalem. We were always praying for Israel. And, it's the land of our faith. But before that, I didn't have any engagement with the land physically. So when I got to college, I was meeting more friends in the Jewish community, and they were telling me what was happening real time in Israel, the current situation on the ground, how as Jewish Americans, they were being attacked because of
Mm-hmm.
things happening in a land far away from where we lived in
Right.
Israel. So there was a whole new chapter of my discovery. I was curious. I would continue to want to know, why was this happening? What's actually going on? Why are my friends telling me they feel uncomfortable? They feel like they have to fight and combat these lies that were being told on campus in the
Right.
news. And I had the opportunity to go to Israel for the first time in 2011 with the Israel Experience. It's a program for Christian young leaders to go to Israel. And I got there, and that was it. It was just a moment. The Lord really spoke to me. I fell in love with the land even further.
Did
I
you feel like you
connected.
were home?
I, I did actually. There was these moments of, I'm walking in Jerusalem, and the Bible's coming to life, and also the fact that I had all these Jewish friends back home who had shared their traditions with me, and it all kind of just culminated and exploded in this one
Mm-hmm.
divine moment.
Yeah.
And from that trip on, I just knew I was sold, and I knew the
Mm-hmm.
Lord had put this on my heart. So he put the Jewish people on my heart first through relationships I had in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and then continued to do so in college. And then when I went to Israel, I knew it was going to shift a little bit more in that direction as well. So then I got back from Israel, and I started the first pro Israel group on my campus for Christians. And it was an uphill battle. We had a lot of red tape to go through, but my Jewish friends helped me through that, and we got it established at Rutgers.
So let me ask you something about that. So were you getting resistance from the student body, or were you getting resistance from the administration?
So it was a little bit of both, but mostly the red tape was coming from the administration. What
Mm.
they said was, there's already pro Israel groups on campus, so there's no need to have another one. We were
Mm.
too, quote unquote, similar. However, the big difference was we were a Christian group, and there were no
Right.
other groups like that on campus.
Yes. Mm.
So we were able to, I was blessed again with just having the right people in my corner, and I give all the glory to God for that. We had some great people at the Hillel. The director of the Hillel was really supportive of what I wanted to do, so they really helped me. So again, the Jewish community helped me start the first pro-Israel
That's
Christian group on
fantastic.
campus. So that's a testimony in and of itself of just the importance of working together with our Jewish friends and neighbors, and
Mm-hmm.
also just pushing through even when things are hard.
Right, right. And it's not easy. In fact, it's getting worse. How much work are you doing? Because, I guess this kind of dovetails into the Philos Project and what you're doing there. Talk a little bit about that, because you've got a group on campus, and are you guys getting pushback on the college campuses where you're involved?
Yeah, so with at the Philos Project, one of the initiatives that we're working on is called the Philos Action League. I work with
Mm-hmm.
that all the time. That's my sole project. And what that is we're a community of Christians around the country who are committed to showing up physically in
Mm-hmm.
solidarity with our Jewish friends and neighbors whenever anti-Semitism or anti-Israel sentiment is
That's
seen. And
fantastic.
thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much. It's an honor to do this work. It is hard, and we do see resistance. Um, we, you and I both know, Laurie, that what happens on college campuses doesn't stay there very long and trickles
Mm-hmm.
down into community, municipality, state, and then federal. So what we do, we have a lot more people on the community level at the moment, but when we
Mm-hmm.
do have things happening on campus, We have people who are able to show up. However, the voices that are anti-Israel or who are very loudly anti-Semitic are very loud right now. So there is definitely a lot of that. So with the Philos Action League, we want to strengthen the ties between the Christian community and the Jewish community to tell them,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we're your friend, we're here for you. How can we help? Because we're stronger together in that
Right.
aspect than just both of us doing our thing in our own corner. We're fighting the same fight.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. So, what about the students, on the campus? Are you getting any resistance from them? Or do you feel like you're being warmly welcomed by the majority of students? I'm sure you're probably getting pushback even from the students on the campus who are opposed to Israel.
Yeah, so we work with some incredible campus organizations who we've made great partnerships with. I came from Stand With Us, so we have a
Mm-hmm.
good partnership with Stand With Us. We work with the Israel on Campus Coalition. So when things are happening on campus, there is a coalition of Jewish and Christian groups who are coming together to help defend the Jewish student body, or if there's anti-Israel,
Mm-hmm.
the BDS movement, we'll get a call and we rally who we can.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire battle of combating anti-Semitism, combating this anti-Israel sentiment, anti-Zionism, it is an uphill battle all the time. So resistance is just expected because we know that this is more than just a like physical issue. This is a spiritual issue, and it hits on so
Right.
many levels. And what to date, the Philos Action League has shown up around the country 195 times
Mm, that's
when things have
fantastic.
happened, which is amazing and sad
Mm-hmm.
at the same time to know we had to show up 195 times, which means that the anti-Semitism, the anti-Israel, the numbers are much higher than that number I just gave you. So
Yeah.
we're doing everything that we can to educate more Christians and really help them step up to take action because we're seeing this sentiment happening again
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. You can find it on campus, you can find it at municipality meetings. I mean, Burlington, Vermont had a vote 2 years ago now about putting, divesting from Israel. And
Right.
we're seeing these things popping up in different places. And we just want to do our best to be there and be friends for the Jewish community.
Mm-hmm.
Philos means friend in Greek. So we
Mm-hmm.
want to be their friend. We have a shared faith. The root of our faith comes from the Jewish
That's
people.
right.
And so, how can we not stand up and use our voice to help them?
Mm. There is an issue that I'm watching that's starting to grow that's quite disturbing, and I'll be interested in hearing your take on it because um, the Christian PJTN started to educate Christians about their biblical responsibility to stand with Israel and the Jewish people against the rise of global anti-Semitism, and that's what Philos Project is doing as well. And I never thought I would see the day, Hannah, that more and more Christians are buying in to this false narrative that Israel's an apartheid state, that they're occupying Palestinian land. Are you confronting that issue? Are you having to educate Christians from a biblical perspective about this issue? Do you see Christians targeting you, or, you know, what are you experiencing on the campus with the Christian students? Are they hearing the message? Are they responding to the call?
Yes, Lori, we are unfortunately seeing this. And again, across the board,
Mm-hmm.
we, I think my boss, Luke Moon, who is a person that really was the catalyst behind starting the Philos Action League, says this all the time. He's like, the farther away people are from reading their Bible and their biblical literacy, the farther
Mm-hmm.
they are becoming from supporting Israel. And
Yeah.
it's definitely a disturbing statistic that we're seeing. My parents' generation and older, their support numbers are in the 80% that they support Israel. And
Right.
in my generation, the millennials, we're seeing that number decline, and we're seeing it definitely goes hand in hand with
Mm-hmm.
um, what's being taught at churches, what your personal relationship with is, your biblical literacy. And yes, there are whole denominations of Christianity in the United States who are buying into this Israel as an apartheid state. And we did do a webinar last year in 2022 targeting this topic specifically. A lot of the mainline denominational churches are some of the biggest proponents for this language.
Yes.
And actually in June of last year, I believe, we were in Louisville, Kentucky for the Presbyterian USA, their national convening, and they were putting up a vote to call Israel an apartheid state. And they were allowing no Jewish voices to come in to the meetings to counter it. We rallied the Jewish community and others in that area to come out and just tell delegates and be outside before the vote and say, Israel is an apartheid state. By doing this, you're voting something that's hateful, and you're not even giving the people that you're hurting the opportunity to speak. So it is very problematic. I think that also just goes hand in hand with the current narrative that you can find anywhere in American media about, everything has to go in a a racial divide or a them and the other divide. And so that translates into Israel. And for whatever reason, Israel is always on people's minds. And unfortunately, they don't even know the real nuanced conversations of what's happening on the ground. So we do bring young leaders, we bring different groups to Israel to show them what's going on the ground to change that narrative. So we are at the Philos Project are doing that, and that's so important.
Well, that's exciting that you're taking students over to Israel, because that's the game changer, really. Just like for you, when you were there, when you were walking the streets, probably when you landed, when the airplane landed, when you were flying in and you were flying over Tel Aviv and you saw the buildings, it probably just gave you, shivers, just the chills, just actually being in the Holy Land. And to see what our Jewish brethren have to contend with on a daily basis, from, whether it's rockets, terrorist threats, bus bombings, cars ramming into people. It's unbelievable. No other country would tolerate what Israel is forced to tolerate because of the world leaders, even our administration. I'm, so disappointed, especially with the recent outcome of the anti-Semitism definition and the weak milquetoast response from Biden and his team. It's insulting. It's disingenuous. But tell me about, that experience. So you're taking young people to Israel. What kind of responses are you getting from these students, and how is it changing them when they return back to the States? Are they engaging?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what's really special about the Philos Project is that we hit that at the very end of college to post-college age group. So we hit those young professionals. We take them, they take courses. We have this incredible program called the Pathfinder program, and we give them the knowledge base about the Hebraic roots of our faith, the baseline. And then we teach them about what's going on the ground. And we talk about the indigenous Christian communities that are alive and well in this region and the difficulties they face. So we give them this baseline knowledge along with a leadership building track before we even get them on the ground, which I think is crucial. And then when they're on the ground, they have this knowledge, and then they have the real life experience to even further ground that. We overwhelmingly have such great responses, and then these participants that we take go back to their spheres of influence and are then advocates for Israel and the Jewish people where they stand. We do have a lot of people in the DC area who work in the political system, who work in these other think tanks and these other organizations, and now they're representatives of what they've learned and what they saw, and so they can take it back and they can educate their community, which creates a ripple effect. So we have that program. We also have the Philos Latino and Philos Black community groups that go as well. So they talk about Israel and in the context of the communities in which they live, which again is crucial and so important that they can have relate to their experience and then see Israel and then come back and share it again with their communities. I think that's something so unique and special that we do at Philos. And then we have this, you know, army of young professionals, of these postgraduate students, sometimes students even still on campuses, who then came back and are so engaged and so excited to take what they learned and what they shared and their personal experiences and bring it to their networks, their communities. And that's how change happens. It happens relationally. So those ripples, you know, down the line, you never know that there's going to be a vote at this state assembly and someone from Philos is in that room and knows the truth about Israel so they can stand up and counter the lies.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Tell us about some of the other programs that you offer as we're coming to a close on this interview, because I want our audience to understand who you are, how they can get involved with what you're doing. What other projects are you guys working on? Because we want to help bring those people, bring more people, especially the young people, to participate in what Philos has to offer. Because, you know, our biggest concern, I know it is with our Jewish brethren as well, is the next generation of young people. When we pass the baton to that generation, is there going to be someone who's going to be able to take the baton and run with it and to continue the important work that you're doing, that we're doing in other organizations who are in this sphere of influence? So let us know some of the other projects and how people can get involved.
Absolutely. So the first and easiest way someone can get involved with us is with the Philos Action League. Again, that community of Christians around the country who we're just there to show up when something happens where we live for our Jewish friends and neighbors. And what's great about that is it's any age. It's not just young professionals. It's anyone who cares about their Jewish friend who lives around the corner, who cares about Israel, who lives somewhere in the US or abroad. They can sign up by going to thephiloproject.org and then looking for the Philos Action League at the bottom of the page. And what happens is they'll get on our mailing list and you'll get an alert if something happens in the community in which you live, and you can directly impact your Jewish community there. And it's so important. We also have, again, I said the Pathfinder program. So it's an online courses. They're free and open to anyone of all ages. The trip to Israel, however, is only for those young professional ages 18 to 35. And that, again, is on our website. And then we have our incredible special projects, Philos Latino, Philos Black. We also have Philos Catholic. And then the Charles Malik Institute, which is especially for those who are interested in foreign policy and how to kind of reframe that section of the community and how to think about it differently than just the narrative where it's always been given by the Charles Malik, who was a humanitarian who helped write the Human Rights Declaration. So we have a lot of offerings. Everything can be found on our website at thephiloproject.org. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And we have a podcast with our director called The Deep Map, where he dives into issues that are happening here and now in the Near East. So a lot of great educational tools. And we're just so grateful to partner with organizations like you. Laurie, thank you for having us on the podcast. We're always just looking for people who are missionally aligned, who know the importance of the Hebraic roots of our faith, and that we can't just stand on the sidelines. We have to take action. The only way for evil to, conquer is for good men to do nothing. And so we're engaged at the Philos Project and the Philos Action League to make sure that good men and good women do not just stand there and do nothing, but that they take action.
Absolutely. So in closing, Hannah, are there any final comments you would like to make with our audience?
I would just say I'm so grateful, again, to find those who have the same passion and heart for Israel and the Jewish people that I do, and just remind everyone that though it is a hard fight at times, it is such a fight worth fighting.
Yes,
That
it is. Mm-hmm.
there's no longer time for us to sit on the sidelines, and that our generation, just so you know, is ready to take that baton that y'all want to pass to us. And though sometimes those numbers, the stats look pretty dismal, but I have hope for our generation that we're not going to go down without a fight.
Absolutely. And that's what we like to hear about the next generation. Ladies and gentlemen, Hannah Garces, and she is at the philosproject.org. That's PHILOSPROJECT.org. Go to the website, sign up, get on their mailing list, get engaged, get involved with them. And Lord, we just pray a blessing over everything that you guys are doing, Hannah. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found this program informative. We will post this podcast on our website and all of our podcast platforms so that you can share with your family and friends. As PJTN Watchmen, we have a biblical mandate to stand against the ungodly rising Marxist threat that is destroying this nation and other Western nations, threatening our Judeo-Christian values and promoting anti-Semitism. We cannot remain silent, as Hannah said. God warned the prophet Ezekiel about the responsibility of the watchman, and it is the duty of the watchman when he sees the enemy advancing to warn the inhabitants of that city, because if any innocent blood is shed, it's going to be required of that watchman. However, if the watchman sounds the alarm to the inhabitants of the city, and the people in the city refuse to heed the warning, if their blood is shed, it will be required of them. So please share and like this podcast to help sound the alarm in your community. Dietrich Bonhoeffer reminded us, silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. Don't forget to join us for next week's podcast as we continue this conversation about combating the rise of anti-Semitism and taking back local control of our communities and our children's education. I want to also remind you that if you have not signed up to become a PJTN Watchman, you can help support this mission through our award-winning documentaries and Focus on Israel programs, as well as more programs like this for just $20 a month. So go to our website at pjtn.org to watch our programs and listen to our past podcasts. With your generous monthly donation, you can ensure that PJTN remains on the front lines and in the headlines, but we can't do it without your faithful prayers and financial support. I hope that you will prayerfully consider supporting our mission as we educate to activate Jews, Christians, and all people of conscience to stand on the front lines of this all-encompassing war. God bless you, and thank you for all you do on behalf of our Jewish brethren, the State of Israel, and these United States. Thank you again for joining me on this edition of Proclaiming Justice. Please share this podcast with your family and friends. For more information about how you can get involved, please visit our website at pjtn.org. As a PJTN Watchman, you can help us keep up the fight to preserve our freedom for our children and their children for such a time as this.